From Hollywood, America's Top 10 with Casey Kasem. This week you'll see Billy Joel.
You made it right. I made it crazy.
Eddie Rabbitt.
I'm driving right that way.
Cameo.
Shake your head.
An interview with Frankie Valli of the Four Seasons. An update on John Sebastian. Plus our exclusive reviews of the top 10 on Billboard's Pop, Soul, Country, and Album charts. Now, for the week ending September 14th, 1980, here's Casey Kasem.
Thank you, Charlie Tuna, and hello again, everybody. Let's begin with the album chart. There's one new top 10 album, and it's at the number 10 position, the soundtrack from Xanadu that stars Olivia Newton-John. Now, moving up to the number 1 position for the very first time in a very successful career is Jackson Browne. His album, Holdout, is at number 1 this week on the album chart.
Down on the boulevard, they take it hard.
Now, our album Spotlight Song of the Week. Billy Joel is no stranger to the spotlight these days, but you know he's been working at it since way back in 1964. That's when he formed his first rock and roll band, when he was just 14 years old. Now, Billy had several bands during his teens. There were the Echoes, then the Lost Souls, and finally the Hassles. Those names sort of suggest a man struggling for identity, don't they? Well, I can tell you that struggle is over. In 1979, in the Billboard Magazine Awards, Billy Joel was number 1 male pop album artist, number 1 male pop singles artist, and his 52nd Street album was number 1 pop album. In 1980, he's on the pop album chart once again with Glass Houses, which peaked at number 1 several weeks ago. Here he is, Billy Joel singing You May Be Right.
Friday night I crashed. You made it right. You made it right. You made it right. You made it right.
Superstar Billy Joel from the album Glass Houses and You May Be Right. He has a single from that album that's moving up the singles chart, doing very well, called Don't Ask Me Why. Next up, my update on the founder and former leader of the Lovin' Spoonful, John Sebastian. All right, it's time now for our update on John Sebastian, who formed his first rock band in the early 60s and called them the Mugwumps. Now, the band consisted of the late Cass Elliot, John Phillips, Sal Yanofsky, and John Sebastian. The Mugwumps weren't very successful, but Cass Elliot and John Phillips became half of the Mamas and the Papas, while Yanofsky and John Sebastian, well, they formed the Lovin' Spoonful. Both groups went on to make number 1 records. The Spoonful hit number 1 in August of 66 with the song Summer in the City. Also in 66, they hit number 2 with Daydream.
What a day for a daydream. Just a minute for a daydreaming boy. And I'm lost in a daydream. Dreaming about my bundle of joy.
With a few memories from the 60s. John Sebastian, the Lovin' Spoonful. You know, John came from a musical environment. His mother sang with big bands and was a radio comedy writer. John's father was the world-famous classical harmonica virtuoso, John Sebastian Sr. John Jr. learned to play the harmonica when he was just 5 years old, but wisely decided not to challenge his father in the classical field. At 17, he hit the coffee houses in Greenwich Village. That's when Bob Dylan was getting started there, too. Now, John would walk from club to club for $5 or $10 a set, and he was known on the street as the harmonica player. After the Lovin' Spoonful disbanded in 1967, John had to wait 9 years until May 1976 for another big hit, and it went to number 1. Who can forget Welcome Back? The theme from the hit TV series, Welcome Back, Kotter, written and performed by John Sebastian.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back.
In between records, John Sebastian has scored many films, including Francis Ford Coppola's You're a Big Boy Now and Woody Allen's What's Up, Tiger Lily. This year, John's embarked on a new venture, a Broadway musical. He's writing the script and the songs for Charlotte's Web. E.B. White's 1952 children's classic has sold over 5 million books, and in 1973 it was made into an animated movie by Hanna-Barbera. Charlotte's Web, the Broadway musical by John Sebastian, will open this fall. Long way from the Mugwumps to the Broadway theater, but that's what makes show business fascinating. And that's my update on John Sebastian. Now, let's check the top 10 on Billboard's official pop chart. At number 10, Eddie Rabbitt's Driving My Life Away. Number 9, making a huge leap of 14 notches, is Queen with Another One Bites the Dust. Number 8, Johnny Lee's #1 country hit, Looking for Love. It's up 2 notches. At number 7, also moving up 2 notches, is Paul Simon's Late in the Evening. George Benson's hot soul hit moves up a spot to number 6, Give Me the Night. Sailing, Christopher Cross's recent #1 smash, is down to number 5 this week. Fame by Irene Cara continues to climb 1 position to number 4. Emotional Rescue by the Rolling Stones holds at number 3. Air Supply climbs 2 notches to number 2. And at number 1, for the second week in a row, Diana Ross's Upside Down.
I said upside down, you're turning me, you're giving love instinctively, round and round.
Now, our Pop Spotlight Song of the Week. Back in 1976, Eddie Rabbitt had his first country hit, and it went all the way to number 1. It was called Drinking My Baby Off My Mind. Eddie's now had 12 country top 10 hits, and 6 of those have hit number 1. His latest country hit has now crossed over into the pop field. It's entered the top 10, and now in the number 10 spot, here he is. Eddie Rabbitt singing Driving My Life Away.
Well, the midnight headlights find you on a rainy.
Country star Eddie Rabbitt singing the Pop Spotlight Song of the Week, Driving My Life Away. Over the past 20 years, one of the most consistently popular groups has been the Four Seasons, later called Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Between 1962 and 1966, the Four Seasons hit the top 10 13 times with hits like Sherry and Big Girls Don't Cry. And with this one. And let's take a look at it, just for about 30 seconds. It's called Working My Way Back to You.
I'm working my way back to you, baby. And I had a feeling that time I let it get away.
Going back to the 60s for that one. Now, in the mid-70s, Frankie Valli scored again as a solo artist with 2 big hits, My Eyes Adored You and the theme from Grease. They went to number 1. You know, he's an unusual guy who's overcome some hurdles, and he still battles one to this day. We thought you'd like to hear Frankie's story, and so we visited him in his Hollywood home recently, and we asked him how he got started in music and at what age.
Actually, I was interested in music ever since I was a little kid. You know, I did a lot of sing-along, listen to the radio and learn the song and sing, and I was pretty shy as a kid, so I'd say, about 8 or 9 years old is when I got started, and I began to work professionally when I was about 15.
We asked Frankie Valli what were the best times.
The best times were when you were having hits, you know, and going through successes and making money and seeing a little something happen with your career.
Frankie had to work hard and believe in himself and the group. But this unusual man carries another battle. He fights deafness. And we asked him to tell us about it.
Well, what I had was, it's called, the technical term is otosclerosis. And it's hardening of the stapes bone in the middle ear. And the stapes bone kind of acts like a tuning fork, and it vibrates the sound to the nerve. And an accumulation of bone, either from calcium or whatever, calcium deposits on the stapes bone, makes it immobile, and it can cut your hearing off. I've had 3 operations on it. The first one was not successful. The second 2 were. The second 2 I had done about 3 years ago here in L.A. by a sensational doctor. And the results has been fantastic. I went from like 25% to 97%, and from about 30% to 80%.
It's Frankie Valli, talented man of great character and determination, fighting to overcome a handicap, and a real nice guy. Now, let's take a look at the top 10 on the Soul Chart this week. There's plenty of action. At number 10, moving up a couple of notches, Southern Girl by Maze. At number 9, moving up a couple of notches, Shake Your Pants by Cameo. And big movers are at number 7, moving all the way up from 15, Michael Henderson's Wide Receiver. And look at this one. All the way up from 25 up to number 6 is Tom Brown and Funkin' for Jamaica. And there's a brand new number 1 song in the soul chart. It's Give Me the Night by George Benson. Give me the night. All right, now our Soul Spotlight Song of the Week. It's by a relatively new group called Cameo. 10 men in that group. And Cameo's leader and producer is drummer Larry Blackmon. Now, Larry's a native New Yorker who idolized Jimi Hendrix's fusion of soul and rock. And he's leading Cameo down a similar path. And here they are, and they really get into it. At number 9 with our Soul Spotlight Song of the Week, the group Cameo, and Shake Your Pants. A big group, and they call themselves Cameo, and they sing their hit, our Soul Spotlight Song of the Week, Shake Your Pants. Well, now it's time for our trivia question. A viewer in Moses Lake, Washington writes, we all know the Beatles were the most successful British band to invade America. But which American band has been most successful in England? Interesting question. The answer could be the Beach Boys, the Supremes, or the Everly Brothers. Got the answer coming up. Now, the answer to this week's trivia question. It's from Pam Bailey of Moses Lake, Washington, who watches us on KHQ Channel 6 in Spokane. Now, her question is, we all know that the Beatles were the most successful British band to invade America. But which was the most successful American band in England? Well, the 3 most successful American groups in England have been the Beach Boys, the Everly Brothers, and the Supremes. Now, let's put them in order. The 3rd most popular American group on the British charts were the Beach Boys. 2nd place, the Supremes. And the most popular American group with British fans have been the Everly Brothers, Phil and Don. They had 13 top 10s and 4 number 1s in the United Kingdom. And in the United States, the Everlys had 4 number 1s and 15 top 10 hits. The Everly Brothers. There's your answer, Pam, and thanks for an interesting question.
And because America's Top 10 used Pam's question, she'll receive Hamilton Beach's Super Fast Pop Air Electric Hot Air Corn Popper. Makes up to 4 quarts of delicious oilless popcorn in minutes. Hamilton Beach Scoville. And meet the car lovers from Polyglycone. All you'll ever need to restore, protect, and preserve your car for years. Polyglycone at new car dealers and leading retailers.
Remember to join us next week. In the meantime, keep your feet in the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
Oh, don't try to save me.